Back when I was a student, there was this junior in our tennis club, a really timid guy. Because of that, everyone liked to tease him, making him listen to the ghost stories we'd just made up. Seeing him so scared was strangely entertaining to us. But one day, the junior looked a little pale. I asked him what was wrong. He said, "That woman with the red eyes, you know. From your story, she appeared in my room." We all laughed it off. After all, that red-eyed woman was just a story we concocted. But he seemed serious, so we decided to check out his place that night. That evening, the 5 of us gathered in his room. We were just chatting idly, and slowly, the scary stories faded from our minds. Then, late at night, we all casually lay down in his room, and eventually fell asleep. But in the middle of the night, the quiet was broken by the sound of footsteps. I woke up startled and opened my eyes. In the dim light, I saw it. Next to the junior's pillow stood a woman. She was right by his bedside, looming over him, staring down intently. Besides me, a few of the others had also woken up and witnessed it. Frightened out of our minds, we dared not look. We shut our eyes tight, pretended not to see, and slowly turned our backs to that dreadful sight. In that tense, terrified state, I must have fallen back asleep without realizing it. The next morning, since more than one of us had seen her, we were all shaken. But when I told the junior what happened, he just said, "Senpai, what nonsense are you talking about? That whole story about the red-eyed woman in my room was just a joke to trick you." I was stunned, speechless. So what then was that terrifying woman we saw last night? It all happened last Christmas. Every Christmas, you'd usually hang out with a few other guys who were all girlfriend-less, just cruising around town. But that year, I reconnected with a childhood friend, so it was just the 2 of us driving around, with only 2 people. The car felt even lonelier. We laughed and complained quietly as we drove into the mountains. Our hometown is pretty rural. The mountain road we took was paved with asphalt but had no street altered. But halfway through the drive, we suddenly saw a woman by the dark roadside. Looking back now, it was obviously suspicious, but at the time, worried she might be in danger on such a dark road. We stopped and let her in. She looked exhausted and lifeless. We asked her questions along the way, but she barely answered, just staring out the window. We gradually grew tired of being ignored, and fell silent. Then, just as the atmosphere inside the car turned awkward, the woman suddenly shouted, "Stop!" Her shout startled us, and my friend slammed on the brakes. That's when we noticed another woman standing by the road ahead. Since we were still quite far from town on a mountain road, I wondered what was going on. Is it normal to have 2 strangers standing out here? So I got out a seat and walked toward that woman. I greeted her, but she didn't respond. When I took a step closer, I did something bold. I moved my face closer to hers. It felt a bit inappropriate, but curiosity got the better of me. It was too dark to see clearly, so I leaned in. Just as I could make out her expression, I was terrified. Right in front of me, she was staring with eyes that were completely black, frozen with fear. I howled and screamed. I fled back to the car in panic, pressed her hand gently against the wall behind it. Her face grew serious as she whispered, "This is where the negative energy is coming from." We were stunned. At first, we thought maybe it was just the stress of moving or the change of environment. But after that, the strange dreams got worse. At night, my wife and I would wake up in cold sweats, feeling like something was watching us from the shadows. Our child's skin rash only spread. The air in the apartment felt heavy, oppressive, like a thick blanket of dread settling over everything. One evening, the neighbor auntie came by again. She brought with her a set of small, ritual objects, talisman papers, incense sticks, and a bell. She explained quietly that some places collect what she called unseen memories, lingering thoughts and emotions that get trapped in walls and floors. Sometimes, if those energies turn sour or restless, they can affect the living. "We have to cleanse this place," she said firmly. "It's not safe for your family." She started the ritual right then, lighting incense, tracing protective symbols on the walls, murmuring soft prayers in a tone calm but urgent. I watched, feeling a mix of relief and fear. Relief that we weren't alone in this. Fear of what invisible forces might still be hidden in the corners of the rooms. Afterward, the oppressive feeling didn't immediately lift, but over the following days, the nightmares lessened. The child's complexion improved, slowly but surely. Yet sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear faint footsteps in the hallway or the soft brush of a skirt near the door when I checked. And I think back to that first night, the woman with the all-black eyes, smiling at us from the darkness outside the car. The mysterious mother and daughter in white, appearing and vanishing like ghosts at my front door. What were they? Spirits trapped in this world. Something older. Something that doesn't want to let go. I could only tell my story and hope it serves as a warning. Some places carry secrets, and some shadows follow, no matter how fast or far you run. She said the previous tenant seemed to have done some strange things. As she spoke, she showed me something, fragments of cotton cloth tangled with hair. It looked unbelievably bizarre. She told me, "You've been cursed with a powerful spell. The best thing might be to move." At the time, my child was suffering terribly from a skin condition. It was already bad enough, and moving again felt like running away. I wasn't keen on the idea, so I asked the neighbor lady, "Can you remove this curse?" She replied, "It might cost quite a bit, but if you're okay with that, leave it to me." The next day, the neighbor arrived with a pile of talismans I didn't even know where she got. She plastered them all over the room. Then she lit a small incense burner and recited some spells. When the ritual ended, she said, "This should do it. Let's watch and see." The following day, my child's skin started to improve. My wife and I stopped having those awful dreams. At the time, I thought everything was finally over. Later, I called the neighbor to tell her the good news. She sounded relieved and happy, even saying, "I charged you well, so I was worried you might blame me if it didn't work out." I thanked her briefly and hung up. But then only a day later, strange things began again. That morning, outside the door, I found a crimson dome-shaped lump that looked like it was made of mud. I told the neighbor lady. She went pale, then rushed over. "Looking at that ball," she said, "this is terrible. What do you plan to do next?" "They'll fight," I said. "I have to protect my wife and child. You're going to help me, right?" "Don't worry," she said. "I'll do everything I can." From then on, every time one of those bloody mud spheres appeared, that fortune-telling neighbor performed a ritual at my house to ward off the evil. It happened several times. It pretty much spent all my annual income paying her. I was stuck, not knowing what to do. Then the neighbor made a suggestion. She said, "We can pretend to move away, make the other side let their guard down. Then, we can use that chance to figure out a plan. If this goes well, they'll think you really left and it should end." I agreed. I sent my wife and child back to her hometown. I still had work to do, so I drifted between the recording studio, business hotels, and friends' places for a while. But I couldn't keep this up forever. After some time, I decided to go back once to check on things, and because I needed some essentials. My wife had left our child with her family in the countryside. She also came back home so we could talk about what to do next. That night, the two of us stayed inside the house. The next morning, when I opened the door, there it was again, the blood-red mud lump lying on the doorstep. It had